Welcome to Retro Fanfic Retrospective, the podcast where we dredge up old fanfiction and expose it to the cold, harsh light of 2019. My name is Amato, and with me are...
Tori.
And Dom Bear, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, once I was accepted into the Care Bears family, I was renamed Geeky Heart Rabbit.
Oh, you would be a rabbit.
You would.
Yeah, like I said before on air, it was my default favorite animal when I was a kid, because every kid must have a favorite animal as decreed by law.
I was renamed Two Heart Dog.
Two heart? Like number two or too much heart?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's never written out.
And I'm Dom Bear, the dominatrix-themed Care Bear.
There's lots of ways to show you're caring.
See, we were just talking about how we were happy that our fan fiction didn't go to a sexual place, and you just had to take it there, Dom. So I don't know what to say to you right now.
I didn't have a cute animal I wanted to be, you know?
Mm-hmm. And as we know, bear is the default.
Yeah.
Just like white and male are the default for humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bears are the default for magic animals.
Protagonist for this fan fiction is a white male bear. So.
That's true.
Actually white.
Actually white.
Yeah.
Now, just before we started recording, Tori, you asked me, why are we doing Care Bears again?
Mm-hmm.
And there's two reasons. Once, as I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, it was a stream of consciousness decision coming from the fact this was our Valentine's Day episode. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't want to do anything major shipping. But Valentine's Day is all about selling greeting cards, and Care Bears is all about selling greeting cards originally. Mm-hmm. And that led me here. And also, Dom and I think are coming from a similar place on Care Bears, which is that we saw the second movie a lot.
When you're a kid...
I see.
When you're a kid that grew up in the 90s, I guess. Or hashtag the 80s kids, whatever.
I mean, I loved the cartoon growing up. Like, I watched it all the time, and it was like, when I was like 4 years old, or, I don't know, 5, I don't know when it came out. But anyway, when I was young, it was this peak height of, like, drama for me, because I understood it, it was still dramatic. There wasn't that same, like, curiosity of, like, what the heck's going on.
But mostly is the phenomena where you have 5 or 6 tapes.
Right, and one of them is the second Care Bears movie.
Exactly.
See, I just watched it on TV. I don't remember the second movie. I'm sure I saw it, but I just watched it as it came out on television. That's all I remember.
Does anything ring a bell about summer camp, Care Bears?
Were you concerned about who was the camp champ?
I was not at all concerned.
Oh.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe when I was 4, I was. I can't remember, y'all. I was 4.
Were you despondent about your huge, miraculous marble shooting abilities? No?
Yes. Actually.
Oh, okay. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to bring that up.
That was kind of insensitive.
You just rewatched that movie in question, apparently.
Yes. I did it at some point despite the fanfic, I think. When I was supposed to be reading, I stopped and rewatched it because just the nostalgia hit me too much, I think. I had to see it visually.
And how does the second Care Bears movie hold up in the cold, harsh light of 2019?
It's okay. It's actually okay. I was expecting poor 90s cartoon quality, but it was decent 90s cartoon quality.
Yeah, we were
80s?
just talking about this.
It was 80s.
90s. Pretty positive, because I feel like I watched the show when it was coming out.
We'll get one of the interest to Google it quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were just talking about this in the car, that the animation kind of holds up. The colors are surprisingly bright in the show. Like, I feel like a lot of early 90s animation, or late 80s, whatever we decided this was really washed out. Colors turn out really bright, and the movements, you're talking about the motion, was particularly interesting.
They made some interesting, like, acting choices. I don't know what the technical term for that be, but like blocking choices for the characters, like odd flourishes. Like the one that caught my attention was at one point Darkheart, the shape-changing bad guy, changes into a vulture, and instead of just going and fighting off, it stops and like stretches a leg in an interesting way, then hops off, and it kind of adds a little bit of character, I think.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's straight up 80s. The Deke series was 85. The Nirvana series was 86 to 88. The movies are also 80s.
So I must have been watching reruns on television.
Yeah, I think we were.
At the time, when I was little, I thought, this is just coming out. You don't think anything else, but...
I was actually able to watch this off of archive.org.
Mm-hmm.
I think the internet, like, the copyright has expired archive.
Really?
Someone uploaded a VHS rip, and it's just on archive.org, and you can watch it.
Huh. Does that mean that it's actually... But no, it's got to be owned by someone.
Yeah, definitely. You can rent it off Amazon, I think.
Uh-huh.
But just something about like copying a book is like copying a VHS, and that's I don't know.
Oh, I see. Like the experience we had was watching it on VHS, not watching a nice clean DVD copy.
It has like a plain explanations about what the copyright on this particular file is, and it's you can link it, use it however you want, just don't modify it.
I wasn't going to modify the second Care Bears movie, so that's good.
Well, they put my plan to the remix, down the drain.
Redub.
Yeah.
Now, when I was looking into Care Bears fan fiction, the thing is, it's not that big a fandom. Like, there's not that many people writing fanfic for it, or there don't seem to have been, and especially about the older material, like we're actually familiar with, that is retro. And so I just kind of latched onto the first thing that seemed reasonably well regarded, or at least well regarded by more than one person who I could identify. And so this fanfic is Rise and Fall by Phoenix. How do you say it? Audubon?
Audubon, like the Audubon Society.
Like the Audubon Society.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Wait,
I don't know my bird things,
that's
okay?
the author's name?
No, that's a
That
character's
is
name.
both.
Oh, dear.
I know. Yeah, I got in touch with the author. Oh, well, for one thing, this was recommended by a fan named Kairos R, who created the TV Tropes Care Bears fanfic recommendation page. But it was seconded by at least one other person named Contrary Heart Liger. These are the names of Care Bears fans online. And I ran into at least one other fanfic that was drawing multiple Care Bears OCs from other fanfics, and Defender Bear was there. I got in touch with the author, and he was kind enough to give me a little context about the writing. He said he was writing it in about 2002 when enlisted in the U.S. Air Force, and it was the 20th anniversary of Care Bears' creation, so there was a whole lot of like nostalgia boom re-releases and stuff.
Now I'm just trying to imagine some like Air Force dude writing Care Bears fanfic.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, just to put that spin on it, obviously anybody can write Care Bears fanfiction, be yourself, but
It's not who I would have guessed.
Yeah, the stereotype of somebody in the military is quite different.
He wrote it in 2002, put it on a Care Bears fan forum, and posted to fanfiction.net in 2003. And he said he got some good responses and had intended to write more with the character, but, didn't get much down. And then got distracted by other things like current occupation and family stuff. And he says, thinking back, this is the quote that he gave me, the writing may be self-indulgent. It wasn't until after I completed the story that I learned about the Mary Sue/Marty Stew trope, which I fear the protagonist may exhibit some of those qualities.
Well, I'm glad the author brought up on their own, and we didn't have to point it out.
It's interesting because this fanfic's not like, it doesn't make you scream and tear your head off.
No.
But the ways that it's bad are very kind of standard ways for fanfics to have struggles with new characters.
Yeah.
It's very textbook in some ways.
I think it's funny because I'm sure we'll get into this more later, but I didn't have as many problems with the cookie cutter character because it's Care Bears. Like, I just kept thinking like, oh, well, it's just kind of this cliche. And Care Bears is a show for very young kids, and cliches work.
We'll get into it, but the character being a cliche is not the problem. The character's role in the story in relation to the characters is the problem.
No, that actually is a problem. But I will say that I had fewer issues with the character being Marty Stew. I have trouble saying that. It sounds weird.
Yeah, it's
Care Bears.
We should use some gender neutral term. You could also talk about it being an author avatar, I suppose. When the author's handle is the same as the name of the character, you're kind of asking to be using that terminology.
Yeah. Sure, but nonetheless, it can't be an author insertion because the character is way two-dimensional for it to actually be.
Well, let me draw a distinction here between a self-insert, which is when you are literally just writing a version of yourself into the fan fiction. Like, hey, I'm writing this story where I go and meet the Sailor Scouts, and probably make out with Makoto. As opposed to an author avatar where the character is not supposed to be you, but you're doing the things that you want in the story or the setting through that character.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I feel like you don't see too much of the former these days, but it used to be a thing, especially in anime fan fiction, the actual self-insert.
The actual self, yeah. This is way more of the. This is the sort of character that I think it's living out a fantasy. which is a lot of what fanfiction is.
That is fanfiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, certainly the few times I attempted to write fanfiction when I was like 12 and 13, I was living out a similar fantasy. So
I'd just like to say at the start of this, kind of in the same way that we did for the Digimon fanfic, like, I'm not here to tear into the author. I chose the fanfic because I thought it would be, because I had some reasons to think it was good, and there's probably some things we're going to complain about, but, like, it's an earnest piece that, you know, doesn't deserve for us to be, like, super acidic towards it.
no, and none of this does. I mean, we always do our best to be fair.
We get a little bit upset at rampant sexual assault or, like, sexism.
Yeah,
But
well...
those are problems this
that's-
particular fanfic does not have.
That's fair. Yeah, actually, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the problems this fanfiction doesn't have.
I was concerned for a moment that's might be where it headed. Either one of those, but yeah. I'm glad it didn't.
Well, yeah, maybe we should dig into the plot a little because there's a few points.
The plot of Rise and Fall by Phoenix Audubon.
Phoenix Audubon.
Did we say the name of the fanfiction before?
I mentioned it. Apparently written 2002, published 2002, put on fanfiction.net 2003.
And also
Quite a bit later than I thought, actually.
Thanks to the author for reaching out or talking back to us. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I
definitely props.
I always am happy when the authors do that.
Yeah.
And, he was saying he's looking forward to hearing what we have to say about it, hopes we enjoy it, had a little bit of trepidation about what we'd be saying about it.
Well,
but we'll see.
I guess all those feelings are justified. We'll try to be kind, knowing that the author is listening. I mean, not that we're not always kind. I
like to think we are generally kind.
Yes, I think we're generally kind.
I'll try to be kind.
So, this fanfic by Phoenix Audubon is about a bear named Phoenix Audubon. Now, he has grown up in a cave raised by a phoenix. The phoenix doesn't seem to have a name. It's just like the phoenix. It's the phoenix.
Right.
And this is the first point that was funny is it's like the phoenix named its child Phoenix, but it totally makes sense because the phoenix is like this solitary entity. Like, what else is it going to call something else? It's like, I'm a phoenix, you're a phoenix, that's a phoenix, the other thing's a phoenix, right?
So you think it's like naming something not other or something.
Yeah.
Just like this is also a me.
This is also I actually really appreciated that naming. That's how I thought about it.
I actually wasn't clear that the phoenix called the bear Phoenix. I thought that the bear might have just taken on that name when asked what his name was because he didn't have another one.
They mentioned the name a few times before.
They mentioned the name way before he ever encounters the characters because they introduce him as Phoenix Audubon.
Then that's kind of a cute read on it.
It's written in third person.
Because the first thing that happens, we don't see any any daily life here. The first thing that's happening is the phoenix is dying. And usually phoenixes will be reborn in a big cloud of fire and continue to do their phoenixy thing.
In a big X-Men event, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, be fire and life incarnate. Yeah. But this particular time, the phoenix says, I know that you're supposed to be part of a family. Couldn't find them for you. That's why I raised you. But, in this death, I'm going to not resurrect and instead pass on my power to you to give you magical powers. And the first thing the phoenix kind of intends for him to do with that is find his family.
Which is very kind.
It's a little strange that the phoenix cannot do that, but by turning into magical power, he can do it with magic.
Yes, that is quite strange. But there is actually a mention of the fact that the spell that Phoenix performs to find, not the Phoenix, but Phoenix Audubon the bear, uses to find his family, requires him to have something personal, an image of a family member. He's closer to his family than
the phoenix could not do it to find anyone other than the phoenix's own family. That kind of makes sense.
Exactly, yes. So I think that was the implication.
Yeah.
It's like that spell if you kill a dragon, you kill all its offspring or something, but it's nicer in reverse.
Yeah, something like that. What is that, Order of the Stick?
I think so. I think they do that also, yeah.
Yeah.
I also did in this other D&D fan fiction I read.
That's interesting. That's a thing, I guess. So Phoenix gets to mourn the Phoenix a little bit. I'm glad the Phoenix is out of the fanfic now, so we don't have to worry about this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just also say I'm sorry for talking so much, but this was just the first thing that struck me is right after the Phoenix dies, the first thing Phoenix the bear does is says, "Oh hey, I have magic now."
It's
and
weird.
You're like, what?
He goes back to mourning the Phoenix a couple times, but that's not the first thing.
That's not the first thing he does. And so that was the first issue that I actually took with this.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, he's literally like, Oh, yeah, here, let me read this out. The phoenix is dying. Phoenix, the bear, watched the world around him fade in a white light, and he felt a warm, soothing sensation in his body. He opened his eyes and looked in the mirror. This time he saw himself surrounded by the fiery image of a bird. And that's... Oh, forgot to mention the phoenix burst into flames right before that, but...
That was a given, yes.
Yeah. My spirit will still keep you safe. The echo in his head soon faded. So now I can use magic. I suppose you should try this out before I blow myself up with it. Phoenix contemplated his first move. It's like, that's your first reaction. Like,
there should probably be an emotional beat there.
Only contact.
Well, what I think is...
Your caregiver, your only parent, your only contact, like, in the whole world, just exploded.
Yeah.
And you're like, I guess I should figure out how to use my magic.
Yeah, but their stuff is cool. Let's go check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Phoenix leaves him a book. It's kind of weird.
Like, I'm thinking, like it's necessary to have a scene where they train with their magic powers.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it would have been better is that would have happened long before this Phoenix thing the Phoenix had died. So, like, maybe if the Phoenix had been sharing magic powers over a period of time and also had been training Phoenix Audubon as it been going on, and then, like, as it died, that was the final amount of power. So, like, they could start it with just the mourning the passing of the Phoenix, the bird.
There's a lot of ways you could do it. It could even be that the Phoenix had been training him to use magic without actually having the ability to.
Yeah, that too.
And then it's like, okay, now you can actually put all this practice into effect.
Yeah, I think as somebody who's read a lot of first chapters of shonen and manga, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this.
Yeah. The way they do it is a little bit clumsy because the Phoenix leaves him a book.
Yeah.
And he uses a spell from that book to find his family. But for the entire rest of the fanfic, he does not refer to the book, and he's just using, like, innate feeling, natural talent, like, feeling it out.
Chekhov's spellbook.
Yeah.
Though, yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah, because it does become relevant. But anyway, we'll get to that. Though I do think, like, for all the criticism you can place on the opening of this for being, you know, a little bit forced, I suppose, it completely follows that shonen narrative. And that American, you know, narrative, it's like Dragonheart. Like, it's like all this media that we consume. I want to give the author props for making this, like, a perfect pulp opening. Like, there's so many things you can criticize in it because there's the same things you criticize in shonen and, like, pulp media. There's just, like, brash young hero loses parental teacher figure and sets out on their own.
But has a lot of power.
But has a lot of power all of a sudden. Perfectly follows that same narrative. Like, the author did a great job following the same narrative. Like, they really don't falter in that. And I do think it would be easy to lose the props for that because it feels cliche. But, like, it actually takes some effort to construct that.
Yeah. That is, like, the only real problem I have with it. It's like, I wish I could have tweaked it at the time to make it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And now as we're talking about it, makes me really want to watch My Hero Academia more. Wait for the next season. Come on.
So Phoenix casts the spell to find his family. Like Dom mentioned, he needs, like, a picture or something, but he uses his own reflection. And I guess that's fair because all Care Bears kind of look really the same.
Well, the spell specifically mentions that in a pinch, if you don't have a picture of a family member, your own picture will work because you have DNA ties to them or something. And it was nice foreshadowing on the author's part to mention the mirror when they first started out and then bring it back right away. I thought they did a good job with that.
And also, all the Care Bears do look alike, just different.
They look super alike. Even the horse looks like a bear.
Noble Heart Horse's design always bothered me. Like, it's just not quite horse enough.
Doesn't it have a heart nose just like the bears instead of having, like, two nostrils? Like, it does not look like a horse. I thought that was a bear.
Sounds right.
Yeah, Tori and I were talking before about how Noble Heart Horse was just designed very flamboyantly.
Yes. Well, Dom was talking about how they were unsure if it was, like, Noble Heart and, was it True Heart? Were, like, a gay couple or, like, what the idea was.
That's how it's supposed to be coded. Yeah.
Right. But then realizing through the wiki, and also this fan fiction, obviously, is familiar because they say that True Heart is a girl and Noble Heart is a guy.
Well, because, like, my frame of reference was the second movie.
Yeah.
And I watched the second movie with that in mind, and they use her once in the entire movie when talking about True Heart bear.
So they never even say what gender Noble Heart
They
is.
also don't gender most of the other characters because everybody just calls each other by their proper name.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that was another thing I was bringing up is that Care Bears having genders was a very weird part of this fan fiction for me.
And
I don't think of Care Bears as having gender.
Yeah, I can't remember what I thought as a kid.
I don't think I thought of them as having gender as a kid, but that's because I was like 4 years old and gender wasn't really that much of a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't constructed
Like if somebody didn't have a gender, it didn't really matter. And I noticed this as a non-binary person who works with kids. The elementary schoolers, they'll always be like, "You're not a boy or a girl, what are you?" And I always tell them, "I'm a person."
Yeah.
You know, but they always have the question. The 4-year-olds I work with does not matter to them. And there's definitely like a difference when they go from the preschool to the elementary where it becomes a cemented thing.
Yeah.
So I think because I was so young when I watched this, I just didn't think about it, you know?
You should just tell the elementary school kids you're a Care Bear.
That'll make sense.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes, I tell them I'm a dog, but they just, they don't believe it.
I would be suspicious, I think.
I'm fuzzy like a dog. I can go woof.
If we're talking about True Heart Bear and Noble Heart Horse, what's more important than their gender is the fact they're clearly stupendous badasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like just universally known as the toughest Care Bears, period.
Like in the second movie, aren't they like, well, we've got you all set up. We've raised you all ourselves with a whole bunch of star nannies. I think we're going to go pursue the devil. You guys just stay here and hold the fort.
You all chill.
Right.
They're kind of crazy that way. I don't know if this fanfic, I think it does a good job of portraying them, but I don't know if it fully acknowledges, how badass they are.
Look, their tummy symbols are a heart inside a rainbow star and a star inside a rainbow heart.
Yeah,
and you don't get more badass than that in a Care Bears context.
Except for Defender Bear here.
Well, okay.
Yeah, whatever. let's go with the fanfic, but other thing I did want to mention is it was just about the conversation Dom and I were having before, is that if Noble Heart Horse is really supposed to be a dude, he's hella gay.
Very much so.
That's
That
probably
aesthetic
true, yeah.
is so gay.
So it's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It's definitely gay. It's definitely a lesbianish too. You know, it just skirts the line.
But also
I love aesthetic.
very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I buy
love
True
it.
Heart and Noble Heart as non-romantic life partners.
Yes.
Yeah.
They created a whole society together.
Yeah.
So they must have this whole idea of it's this whole idea of partnership to raise children, but doing it in a non-sexual way because you can't really sexualize a Care Bear, as this fanfic demonstrates.
Well, they're also very individual because at one point the heart and the horse and the bear split up the children.
Oh yeah, True Heart goes down to Earth and they split up the children.
Yeah, the True Heart. The horse takes all the cousins.
Oh, of course.
Goes to the Forest of Feelings and just raises it by themselves. Apparently, just cuz.
Just cuz. Cousins.
So the fanfic.
Wait, what?
Phoenix tracks down a few members of the Care Bears family who are down on a caring mission. It's a generic caring mission. They're fighting off some shadows that no heart sent.
No heart. Not
Yes,
dark heart. Not cold heart.
No heart. No heart sent. And they're having a lot of trouble with these shadows. Usually you just kind of Care Bear stare them. But for some reason it seems like no heart is growing stronger. And did I miss something or is there no explanation in the fanfic for why that is?
There's no explanation.
Okay.
I don't think. Is there?
I don't know. I was wondering if I missed something. No.
No heart is just stronger now, so they're having trouble fighting these shadows. And they're like, we drove those off, but it shouldn't have been that hard, and we need to go call a meeting about
I
this.
thought that was shadowing something. Foreshadowing.
Well,
Yeah, but nothing came of it.
Well,
I mean,
no, there's this whole thing with the carrying meter going down and this dark thing that No Heart created at one point.
that's later on, though.
That's later on.
He doesn't
yeah,
get a hold of that stone that Professor Coldheart created until
Right.
later. At this point, he's just
right.
stronger for no reason
Yeah, Coldheart
than he
created
has been.
Yeah, so he really doesn't. Okay, yeah, we'll go through the fanfic step by step
Right.
because now I'm feeling like they were trying to say that he had this stone from Professor Coldheart, but he didn't until later, huh?
It felt like a plot thread that was set up and then kind of just got lost in the shuffle. But anyway, Phoenix does not step in, even though he sees them do their Care Bear stare stuff. He sees them fly back up in a cloud car, and he's like, oh, I guess they live up in the clouds. Okay.
Okay, cool.
He has a short conversation with the girl that they saved, and she's like, are you a Care Bear? And he's like, am I? She's like, well, you look like one, except that with the white tummy. And there's kind of this push and pull early on where Phoenix like is going after this family that he's supposed to have lost, but also is like really shy about it, and it kind of works.
It's pretty cute, actually. Like, I like that as a character point that he can observe them. Like, it works as a good plot device that he's shy because he can observe them and he can see these things happen to them without getting involved.
Yeah. He's also bad at small talk, and it happens multiple times that like a conversation will just stop and he'll just be staring at them for a little bit.
Actually, that's the part that feels like an author insertion. And I don't know the author, so I'm not going to assume, but it was very personal to me. And, like, I related to his experience a lot. That's the main point I liked about this, is he was so awkward. He didn't know what to say, and he didn't approach them because he didn't know what to say. And that's totally reasonable. Like, and it felt like the author was really using something personal for that, because it made a lot of sense.
He's actually surprisingly well socially adjusted for someone who literally only talked to one other person for their whole life.
And I thought about that too. I was like, how does he know all these things? Like, but then there's sort of a reference to the Phoenix showing taught him stuff. So I was like, okay, I guess I accept that. It's that sort of logic.
Well, it's like the Phoenix knows what a laptop is.
And told him what a laptop is.
Yeah.
But did not have an internet connection or a laptop.
Right. But it's one of those things you kind of have to brush off in, like, the fantasy setting of, like, suspension of disbelief sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I guess.
Just as nerds, we can't.
Yeah. I mean, we have to accept that Phoenix is, like, at least basic social skills, despite having been raised with only one other person, because otherwise it would be too hard to go through this.
Yeah, if we can give Goku a pass, we can give Phoenix a pass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very shown. There you go.
Now, I don't remember whether they get to have a meeting about this. Do the Bears go have a meeting?
And they have a meeting to introduce Phoenix
okay.
everybody.
So first, I think they're just heading back. I forget the exact blow-by-blow, but Phoenix doesn't expose himself to them and introduce himself right then, but he kind of goes after them once he figures out how to fly, which, again, is pretty easy. He's mostly winging it on the magic.
And winging it. It's flying.
And birds.
You get it?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
And the Care Bears that he's following are attacked on their cloud car by No Heart in the form of a giant spider.
Which is messed up.
Oh, yeah, spiders, right.
I was thinking that Tori would enjoy that part a lot.
Oh my god. No, actually, this is the part that I thought was especially well written of anything. Because they do this thing where they describe the spider being very small and then slowly growing bigger as it approaches the Care Bears. Immediately their car crashes into its web and they get stuck in the web. And they see a small spider that slowly grows bigger. And I thought that was so evocative. And, like, maybe it was only my fear of spiders, but I really think the author did a good job describing the legs, the growing, and the ugh.
I can just imagine that a lot of animation terrifying. Of that, too.
Yeah.
It totally came out in my mind as this, like, cartoon spider. Like, it reminded me of of Shelob in the Return of the King animated movie. Like, that sprung out in my mind, which was a very well animated movie, by the way.
Now, these Care Bears are unable to fight off No Heart, who is also, stronger than usual, but also No Heart should be kind of hard to deal with because he's the medium big bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The big bad of that particular series. And Phoenix gets to swoop in as cavalry and be all, like, magic dueling. And, the fact that he can just... I'm still a little bit stuck on the fact that he had a spell book and was like, use the spell book, but now, like, immediately afterwards, just like, no, you can just wing it with the magic, it's fine.
Yeah, just jazz improvises a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Like, you've performed one proper spell, and now you basically just can intuit what to do. But he gets to drive No Heart off in a little magic duel. No Heart's not expecting that kind of opposition. Like, hey, a Care Bear that can use magic, and he gets driven off being like, next time, or however No Heart talks.
No Heart's fast enough again.
Exactly. But then Phoenix kind of stares at them and then disappears again. Like he like jumps off the cloud or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they get to go back and have a meeting, the other bears. I don't even remember what bears they are in particular. It doesn't really matter, except that Wish Bear is among them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, has Phoenix met Wish Bear at this point?
Oh, not actually met. The significant part's going to come in just a moment when they're searching for Phoenix. Because they go back and they say, they have a big Care Bear meeting.
Mm-hmm. Now, there was a thing before that. Anyway.
Was there?
I think he saw her and had a feeling.
Oh, he saw her and had a feeling. Yes.
Yeah, which was like the first sense of like, there's gonna be something here. It's like, that bear is beautiful.
That bear looks just like all the other bears, but a different color.
That teal color is just so entrancing. It's like he gets a fluttery feeling in his chest the first time he sees her.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, oh, that's weird. And that's why I thought this fanfic was going to go to a weird place, but it didn't.
It doesn't really, no.
No,
yeah.
it's not that weird.
I don't know, maybe it's a very cool color. I don't know.
A turquoise is a cool color. I approve.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I would go for Funshine Bear, but there'd be much more fun. Shine.
This is true.
Bear.
Bear. Noble Heart Horse is my jam. With that mane.
No.
Whoa, boy.
Noble Hard Horse is Uncanny Valley for me. It's not even Uncanny Valley because it's nothing close to looking like realism. It's just like not horse enough.
It doesn't look anything. It has like the same hard nose. It doesn't have nostrils. The same.
Okay,
it looks like a bear.
I just can't take Noble Hard Horse.
Noble Hard Horse literally looks like a bear with a mane. End of story.
Okay. So they call a big Care Bears meeting, and they're some kind of true Greek democracy where all decisions are made by consensus. And basically they're like, no hearts magic seems to be stronger. That's no good. Mm-hmm. Also, there was this magic bear who showed up and blasted no heart. That seems good. But then he disappeared. That seems bad. Mm-hmm. So how about we split up and go look for him?
And that's when he meets Wish Bear.
Yeah, Wish Bear is one of the little contingent that goes search the forest of feelings, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that where Phoenix ends up?
Somewhere. Yeah.
And like none of the cousins are there because they were all at the meeting. And so Wish Bear is the one who eventually stumbles into him. And that's kind of their, other than the physical attraction that clearly can exist with a plush bear who looks just like you.
It's their meet cute.
It's their meet cute with actually some kind of connection, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she talks him, he's easily spooked, but she talks him into going and meeting her family. He introduces himself for his name first time. And it's kind of weird that...
Yeah.
What's that?
Go on, Amato. You're saying it's kind of weird that...
The other bears find it weird when he's like, oh, I'm Phoenix Audubon. And they're like, okay. At one point he's like, were they expecting a name that ended in bear?
Yeah.
And yes, they were definitely expecting that.
Was that after he was slinking around Carolot Invisible?
Oh, was he slinking around Carolot Invisible like a creepo?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yes.
I did not remember that.
Once he figures out where Carolot is, because he follows them, because he's learned to turn invisible, he creeps around. And maybe that's when he first sees Wish Bear and has his weird fluttery
I think she was down on Earth.
She was in the party that was attacked by
Yes,
Heart.
okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he does that for a minute because he's just shy. Relatable.
Yeah.
And one of the Care Bear cousins almost sniffs him out.
Right.
But there is this interesting part with when Wish Bear, she chases after him and finds him, and he feels cornered, and then he finally feels safe and comfortable around her. And it was kind of sweet because they have this connection. You don't know what predicates this connection, but they have this connection, and that's kind of cute. But it does feel a little bit off for Care Bears because, like I said, I could never conceptualize Care Bears as having gender. I know that's related, but I also could never conceptualize them having sexuality. And this made me think about Care Bear romance. And that was just weird because to me, they are stuffed animals.
You didn't ship Secret Bear and Wish Bear. No, it's not Wish Bear. Secret Bear and Friend Bear. Secret Bear will only talk to Friend Bear.
I mean, I get it now that I'm looking at this as an adult that you could see things that way, but something about the child consumption of this media that I have is not compatible.
Well, that's why we read fan fiction, Tori, to expand our horizons.
Because they're not even animals. They're just inanimate objects brought to life. Wait,
are you talking about in continuity or in their
I
design?
don't even know.
In continuity, they're all individual orphans that just happen to
look the same.
Yes.
I just still think of them as stuffed animals, because this was a cartoon series created based on a toy line, and for some reason, this toy line in particular.
But was it greeting cards?
I thought there was a toy line first.
It was probably cards. Then I don't remember whether the first animated specials that predated the TV series or the merchandise came first. They probably were coming out at the same time. Well, I don't know.
It was a big thing at the time to create cartoons to promote toys.
Yeah.
So that's why I assumed it was toy-based franchise.
Speaking of toys,
fair assumption, yeah.
Apropos of nothing, one of my mom's best friend when I was little had a baby Tugs bear, and I was so jealous. I remember her at one point being like, "Do you want to play with it?" And I was like, "Yes." I don't know how I said it, but like she let me play with her baby Tugs.
Yeah,
I was like that with a Cousins Transformer.
Yeah, those are both franchises that were just like a more like a few years before us in certain ways. Like people like a little older than us had those toys more than we did.
Yeah,
and they seemed very delightful. You know?
I had the old VHS, but didn't have any of the toys.
Yeah, I never got a Care Bear. Like all the Care Bears I found were like at garage sales and stuff because I was born in '89.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So just predated my time.
I mean, if there's still toys like that in the '90s, it'd be the I Don't Care Bears, right? Gen X people, am I right?
Yeah, like the Bratz dolls. Those are the I Don't Care Bears.
Am I right?
You might be right.
Now, I'd like to point out a weakness of the writing. The Phoenix goes and is introduced to all the bears and cousins. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be bearist. Like the Care Bears family. Specious. And introduces himself. And there's a part where he relates everything that's happened in the fanfic so far to them. And like he didn't need to do that. You can elide some of this conversation stuff and like after the introductions and after Phoenix had explained what brought him there, then we go on to the new content. Yeah. But it's like this big old paragraph of him just describing like I was raised by a phoenix and the phoenix died and I used magic to look for the family and I saw them fight, and it's just it could have used another pass.
I felt that as well because at that same paragraph I was thinking this could have all been described as Phoenix explained everything that's happened so far.
Exactly.
Like there could have been a sentence that said Phoenix told the story of what had happened so far and then. But instead they retold it. And I definitely remember thinking that as I was reading it.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting thing about all these fan fictions. It's all these first-time writers by themselves.
Yeah. And usually, especially as a first-time fanfic writer, you don't get feedback and editing first. You throw it out there and see how people respond.
Yeah.
And so...
Sort of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yes, this is exactly what people pictured when they wrote fanfiction in 2002, is that people, 15-ish years later, maybe closer to 20, would be talking about it on some sort of radio-type show.
Sure.
And some sort of weird future platform that didn't exist at the time.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do want to point out the irony of what I was just criticizing, because as I was saying that the author was repeating themselves, I realized I had repeated myself and said the same thing twice, which is a habit of mine. So I get where the author's coming from, and I do want to say that.
Phoenix demonstrates his magic to the assembled bear folks, and after that, he sort of loses control of it. It's just a light show, and then he loses control of it a little bit, but everyone's very impressed because no one else can do that. Braveheart Bear moves to invite him into the Care Bear family, and Share Bear speaks out against that and says, "Didn't you see what just happened here? His magic backfired on him. Sure, he seems like a nice guy and all," Cher argued, "but he's got something he can't fully control. That's a big risk right there. I'm not so sure he could be useful if he can't use this magic of his properly." Share Bear.
Right.
This is what Grumpy Bear is for.
Yeah,
this is exactly what Grumpy Bear is for.
Why are you the one who, is being the naysayer here?
Share Bear was the only naysayer, and it continued. And it was very interesting. But I feel like the author was trying to maybe not do the obvious thing, which is strange because they do the obvious thing throughout the rest of the fan fiction.
Can we just pretend it was Grumpy that said that?
That would make more sense. 2 other people vote against moving him into the family. The other thing about that vote is Share Bear. Hugs and Tugs are not part of the family because they are useful on missions. That is not the basis by which people are members of your family. They can still hang out and care a lot.
Having watched the first half of the first episode, Hugs and Tugs get themselves in trouble a lot because they're babies. They're like toddlers.
Right, and
they're still in diapers.
If Phoenix is not ready to go on caring missions, that's fine.
Yeah.
Why is that a problem? And almost everybody else agrees, and they vote him into the family. Now, if you're going to do a "will we let this person into our in-group" vote, maybe do it in secret. Maybe not just have him see Share Bear doesn't like me. Neither do those 2.
I'm not sure how Care Bear parliamentary procedure works.
Apparently, parliamentary procedure, I just noticed rereading this, that True Heart and Noble Heart consult with each other and they say, Share Bear, we understand your concern, so I think we'll let you all vote on this one. So in other words, usually it's just lobbying True Heart and Noble Heart, and then they come to a consensus.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
I was under the impression from canon that, like, everyone would just get a vote. Right, like True Heart and Noble Heart are like first among equals. They're not like the ones calling the shots.
Aren't they like the parents though?
Well, they're also everyone's parents. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing about the Care Bears universe is that you're looking at like kind of the creator's contention between having a society of equals where everybody loves each other,
right?
But trying to create conflict within the community comes down to like, oh, well, they're also kind of childish, and who are the parental figures and who are the siblings? Like the infighting becomes between the cousins and the siblings, and the author does this. They say that the parents are like, oh, well, we'll let you decide because you're our brood, basically.
Well, because like if you guys don't like them, then even if we say it's not going to work anyways.
Right. So it's a decent portrayal of a communal type lifestyle that's working very, very well for the most part.
Sure. I mean, it's almost communist. It's just it's a little bit off with the.
It's communist in that everyone's job is just whatever they are good at that they can help with.
Yeah, and except you have in this portrayal True Heart and Noble Heart being the ultimate.
Yeah, it rang a little strange, which is why it's stuck in my head. Right.
The kind of the dictators there, but it was interesting. There's not much else to say about it. It was interesting.
Now, Phoenix has to make a pledge to uphold the mission and beliefs of the Care Bear family. And as a bear, he gets to be a first-class citizen in the Care Bear family.
No, actually, this was very enlightening to learn that the author had been in the military at this time, because there's a lot of militaristic aspects to this, like...
Yeah, the pledge is...
Uphold the pledge.
You accept the responsibility of protecting the people of Earth and their feelings from those who would seek to harm them. So in this context, you cannot be a like, what do you call it? Civilian Care Bear. Yeah. Everybody's in the Care Bear... I don't want to call it the Care Bear military, but
it kind of reads like that. Though.
Everybody is part of this fight.
What's it in Star Trek? Like the Expeditionary Force or something?
Right. Yeah. I assume Hugs and Tugs get a pass because they are babies. I assume.
Yeah. You never know.
In the growing up montage in the second Care Bears movie, the babies didn't do anything until they were grown up and ready to go.
Right, it's important to note that, as this fan fiction states, that they receive, and Phoenix is about to receive a tummy symbol, which is power, from True Heart and Noble Heart. And so Hugs and Tugs have that also.
Though. Well, they get it from the Great Wishing Star. Yeah. And I like, he asked them about the Great Wishing Star, and he's like, so it's kind of like your boss? And they're like, no, actually, the Great Wishing Star just set us up and then was like, do your thing. Mm-hmm. It does not do any kind of oversight.
It narrated part of the second movie.
What's that?
It narrated the beginning of the end of the second movie.
Well, that's very useful because they needed to take over for the Cloud janitor who narrated the original cartoon.
Clouds don't need janitors.
Apropos of nothing, in terms of my wish list of fanfics I wish somebody would write, Care Bears Super Mario RPG crossover where Smithy's sword crashes through the Great Wishing Star and scatters all of the Care Bears.
Oh my god. You know, the tone of those fits in so well. Like,
oh, I would read the hell out of that.
You're a mad person, Amano.
No, I so support that. But, you know, Super Mario RPG has its own flavor. It's just special in the world.
But in this context, Tenderheart is the one who like does the thing that gives Phoenix the tummy symbol. It is a blue and white shield with a star on the top section, a heart on the bottom section. The Care Bear name they decide on him, or he decides on for himself because it's a renaming type ceremony, is Defender Bear.
Yes, and the first name proposed for him is Unique Bear, which I thought was really funny. Everyone was like, no, because it's really singling him out, right? He's also the only Care Bear that wears clothes. Now, the question of whether
Clothed bear.
Was... Yeah, clothed bear. Why was he raised to wear clothes when the Phoenix doesn't wear clothes? Nobody can ever tell us. But what he does do is take off all his clothes in order to go through the ceremony.
Yeah, it was kind of a nice touch.
It was kind of sweet, yeah.
Well, it's like, why was he clothed in the first place then?
We don't know. But I like that they use the clothing as like a symbol of him kind of giving up his old isolated identity to become a part of this community. Now he puts the clothing back on because it's still a part of who he is, but he's willing to take it off. And because the author is aware of what clothing means for our society, I think that read is very powerful.
Yeah, but also in terms of what clothing means for our society, luckily not in the slightest bit sexual. Like, the clothing is strictly ornamental. It's like earrings. Like, it has nothing to do with...
Again.
Right.
I applaud the author for implying a romance here, but never implying weird sexual things. And that's a lot, like, to applaud, because fan fiction does weird sexual things a lot. So, good job.
Also, knowing that the author was in the Air Force, are they making a distinction between uniform and civvies?
Good point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
The next longish part of the fanfic is... he's got the name Defender Bear, and that's what they're calling him. I guess we call him Defender now, huh?
I go with Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix. Phoenix gets shown around
It switches.
Care a lot, and he kind of checks in with various outfitters. I mean, it's like, oh, well, you go to Graham's for clothes, and you go to Brightheart for equipment, and yeah, it is a little bit more military than you normally expect it to be. Braveheart line for training information.
But it was kind of like Final Fantasy-esque, too. Like, you're setting up your whole RPG thing. Like, you get all your equipment lined up.
Yeah, so who runs the storage of items that you don't need in your inventory?
The raccoon, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that... Well, the raccoon's the shop.
Yeah.
Sort of. The raccoon is an inventor.
Right. No, I'm just thinking in an RPG context.
Yeah, but it's hard to say.
Gift. Isn't there a gift bear or something?
There's an everything.
That would be the storage, I would imagine.
Maybe Secret Bear?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Well,
no, Secret Bear saves your game.
It doesn't tell anybody.
Of course.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I did like in this sequence that the first place that Phoenix/Defender Bear goes is to get clothes from Graham's.
Yes.
The old lady bear. And his first thought is, nobody wears clothes here. And then he gets this pile of pajamas and formal wear and like
pajamas,
situational clothes, that they might wear.
I actually love that because that was a point of the second movie where the little kids were playing with like the rain gear that was made for an adult Care Bear, but they didn't fit in yet.
Yes, and it's perfect because when you think of dressing up your stuffed animal, you're like, most of the time it's just a stuffed bear.
Yeah.
But I give it these costumes because it's raining, because it's
there's
going to the ball,
nor'easter out there.
It's going to bed.
I feel like my Care Bear did have pajamas, and that is what I was thinking of.
And it's perfect for what Care Bears are. Like, they are toys, and this is a series made about toys. So it was costumes that were cute, but they were necessary in their own way for these situational ideas. And then as Phoenix is leaving, he trips and he stumbles and he drops all the clothes because there's way too many of them. Just as he's thinking, what do I need clothes for at all? And it's really kind of adorable.
Yeah.
It's the Care Bear franchise really well.
My favorite part of the sequence is when he's checking in with Brightheart Raccoon, and he's like, here's your laptop, we have wired internet. And I was like, of course Care-a-Lot has internet.
Cable internet?
Of course it does. Yeah.
Not satellite?
Well, it would be satellite now, but this was written in 2002.
Well, they had some satellite stuff, but more importantly, they live in clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
Where does that cable go?
Probably it plugs into some little star buddy somewhere.
Poor Starbuddy.
Yeah, seriously. But, they live in a cloud world. Like, the clouds also serve as solid ground. So one can imagine they might serve as computer terminals as well. Who knows, right?
Right. It's Care-a-Lot.
Yeah.
Care-a-Lot.
And we do
I know it sounds a
Care-a-Lot.
bit bizarre, but in Care-a-Lot, that's how conditions are.
Oh.
Your reference was good too, Tori.
Yours was better.
Care-a-Lot. They care a lot. Care-a-Lot. They care a lot.
Clap, 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 clap.
Okay, we're done.
Yes, sir.
All right. Phoenix gets accidentally injured. He gets to use his magic a little bit to heal himself, but he still needs to check in with Take Care Bear, who is the one certified medical doctor.
Take Care Bear?
Take Care Bear.
I know that one's hard because it's like Care Bear. Like he's just Take Care Bear. Like, yeah.
He's the Care Bear named Take.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the hard
Take.
part of that name.
Which
Care
is very
Bear.
selfish.
Now, to be honest, like Take Care. Take Care is the way I used to sign my emails. It's very cute. Like I love the idea of like a Take Care Bear. Like I'm gonna take care of you, but when they're called Care Bears, it's just like Take Care Bear. You know.
Well, shouldn't it be Take Care Care Bear?
No, because they don't. It's not like Wish Care Bear. It's Wish
right.
Bear.
Wish
like,
Bear. Take Care Bear.
Yeah. Still, nonetheless, it's distressing.
The main thing after that whole sequence, which is the first half of the second chapter out of 3 of this, is that Defender Bear goes off on his first carrying mission. And they do give him training first. Braveheart Lion is the instructor, I guess. But he learns his stuff well enough to be able to go on a mission with Grumpy Bear. And it's sort of a, what do you call it?
What you looking for?
Like, where it's kind of a test of his abilities, sort of, like...
A test?
A test. Yes, Grumpy Bear was chosen to accompany Defender Bear and see how he would take care of the problem and
It's
provide
a training
advice.
mission.
It's a training mission. And so he's going to get feedback and stuff from his, supervisor. And there's a little boy named Frank who's being picked on by a bully. That is exactly the kind of thing in the Care Bears universe that is a caring emergency,
Yes.
not like wars in various parts of the world or anything like that. Like, this is the kind of thing that can set that caring meter, like a trembling.
Because it's
a
all about
crisis.
children.
I know.
You just
And
have to assume
their feelings.
that war doesn't exist in Care Bear universe.
Well, that's probably why there's no Care Bears in ours, because the
No.
caring meter hit 0 a long time ago.
Yes.
In like the first war.
I
Right.
actually assume that Care Bears aren't designed to handle wars. They're designed to handle the problems of children.
Okay, that's fair.
Like if you're past 18, no luck. You don't get a Care Bear on your side.
Maybe the problem
Just
with
saying.
wars is that people care too much.
Ah.
No, but this was an interesting scene too, though, where he tries to handle the bully.
And it's the most stereotypical bully and bullying victim that you could
Sure,
possibly
yeah.
imagine, of course. But go
Yeah.
on, Tori.
Well, it was just fascinating because it's a scene where, yeah, it's totally stereotypical. It's an older, bigger kid picking on a younger, smaller kid and trying to get his lunch money, I think.
Because that's
you
the
know.
thing people have now.
Sure, whatevs. Doesn't matter. Point being that Defender Bear Phoenix tries to step in, and he kind of aggressively confronts the bully. Like, I don't remember exactly.
Care Bears don't scare me, the bully taunted as he took a step
Yes.
forward. I'm big enough to take you both on. Grumpy tried to pacify the young boy. No one's looking for a fight here. I'm sure we can talk this thing out. How about we let my fist do the talking, Dean threatened.
Ooh.
He made a fist with his left hand, raised it up, and was about to lunge forward until he felt something holding his arm back. And, Defender Bear has grabbed his wrist with both hands, and then, lifts him up and is like, well, when the bully's like, I told you I'm not afraid of you. What are you going to do? And he's like, what am I going to do? Oh, I'll show you what I can do. And Grumpy has to step in and is like, Defender Bear, back the heck off.
Don't beat up the little kid.
Don't
What are
you
doing?
beat up the small children.
And
But-
yet he wants to so bad.
And yet it also works. Grumpy tries to salvage it afterwards. He's like, do you see what we were just talking about, Dean? If you felt scared just now, think about how Frank over here feels. You shouldn't bully people around like that. And so he spins it into his
He
more...
does a really good job. And, you
Yeah.
know, this is where I'm like, this is exactly what you do as, a teacher or a caregiver for children.
Yes, you
like,
threaten the children.
no, not
and then
the
you...
threatening.
Wait, am I doing something wrong?
You both are teachers.
No, but I think y'all know what I'm talking about. Where it turns into a teaching moment,
Right.
even though something goes wrong.
Right.
You have to be like, okay, this is where we turn this teaching moment. But it's really interesting from the perspective of, our main character is like, all right, I'll just beat up the bully. That's how I'm going to handle it. And the character's like, these are, kids, dude. You need to calm down. And this is where his kind of, lack of social skills come into play. And his lack of understanding of the situation.
Right, when would he have ever mediated anything?
No, and does he even know what a child is? He got information from the Phoenix, but how much does that translate into actual understanding?
And how much
Yeah.
nuance are they able to pull off?
Yeah.
Well, in terms of nuance, obviously this being Care Bears, just like the bullying situation, super stereotypical, it like is immediately instantly fixed by Grumpy being a good mediator instantly. And like you just have to accept that as a Care Bears thing.
And it's just like a funny situation because it's a juxtaposition between children's media portraying bullies as villains versus when, you know, you're an actual caregiver for children and you see what could be construed as bullying happen. You see just kids like having conflicts and not expressing their feelings well, and you mediate in a way that isn't violent towards either party. But Defender Bear gets violent towards the bully in this situation because that's his perception. It's almost like a kid's perception of a situation. Like, one of the kids I work with will often, like, perceive other kids being mean to other kids, and he'll try to hit them. And that's an issue he has. But it's like, you see where that emotion's coming from. And Defender Bear is very much like those kids. Like, I'm going to protect the other kid without seeing the caring aspect of it. And I thought this was a nice, kind of sensitive way to put things in perspective.
Grumpy Bear was a good choice for the character, too, because his thematic thing is like, you don't have to be happy all the time. It's okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Defender Bear is like, I feel like I blew that mission. And he's like, no, I mean, we made it work out. But I was a little bit shocked by how you chose to approach that. And we will be doing a debrief later. Except they don't. I mean, he doesn't actually say. He doesn't actually say there's going to be a debrief. It's just I assume there would be.
They did say
don't
mission.
really do anything.
Yeah, well, they don't because the plot kicks in.
Yeah.
The main plot here is coming from 2 episodes, and this is the first one, Drab City. Apparently, Professor Coldheart, villain of the Deke cartoon, made some kind of stone that makes people stop caring and makes everything gray. Is that right? Because of course he did, because that's like all that anyone ever does.
Yeah.
And it's acting up again in this place called Rainbow City, and so they've got to get a whole lot of Care Bears over there quickly. And Care Bear Cousins, I'm sorry, Cousins, the franchise is just not named after you.
It's sad because they're so present in the TV show.
Oh, they're equally main characters.
They're equally, yeah, but when you talk about them, it's hard to make them seem relevant.
Right.
Is there Rainbow City in Pokemon?
It wouldn't be called Rainbow City, but there's definitely...
There's a lot of different colors.
Well, there's Pallet Town, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's Rainbow
Pallet
City.
is the one that is supposed to be the multicolored in original Pokemon.
Okay.
But also normal types.
So artificial crystal, it releases decay that turns it into a gray area where people lose their emotions. And they're like, well, we were able to bury it before, but clearly that solution's not really working and we don't have a whole lot of time.
So every villains in Care Bears wants people to lose their emotions.
Among other things,
so
right?
Can we assume that the Vulcan homeworld is someplace where a Care Bear villain succeeded?
Yes, that sounds like a safe assumption. It is probably the fact that no heart is just behind all of Vulcan culture.
I knew it.
This is the interesting thing to latch on to about Care Bears, too, is to see, like, how much emotions matter to the creators of Care Bears.
Yeah, and, like, the bad people aren't, like, bad emotion. It's no emotion.
It's no emotion. And it's depression. Like, depression is the villain.
Right.
And that's what makes Care Bears, like, so intense to look at from an adult perspective.
It was the bad guy in Inside Out also. Just
right.
No emotion.
No emotion.
Yeah.
Not good emotions or bad emotions, but not having emotions.
Not having emotions. I mean, that is depression.
Yeah.
And so that's, I don't know, it's fascinating because this is children's media.
So they're trying to brainstorm a plan real quick. Phoenix gets out his spell book, flips through it, and is like, here's a spell that maybe I can use to put a field around the stone that'll stop the radiation. They're like, are you sure you can do that? He's like, no, but there's a spell here that seems like that's what it does.
Radiation?
Yeah, they call it radiation. Multiple times.
They refer to a Geiger counter.
They do, yeah. Remember that.
Wow. A Geiger counter for uncaring radiation.
Yes. And I love that, by the way. I just love that.
Well, again, just like the Wi-Fi, like, of course they have a Geiger counter for uncaring radiation.
Cable internet.
Right. Cable internet, yes.
This is pre-Wi-Fi, I think.
They go ahead and do that spell thing. And, there's a little bit of drama doing it. They, like, not drop him down, but have him descend into it. And, 100 feet to the bottom, they're communicating. Oh, yeah, the Geiger counter is a needle. And there's the Care Bears equivalent of pseudoscience. But essentially, he gets to cast the spell and encase the stone in a, like, magic field sphere thing, and they decide to take it back to Carolot. He says only he should be able to remove the field. The idea is that Brightheart will take a look at it, and so that he and Grumpy can find a way to safely dispose of it.
He puts a magic field around it or something.
Yeah,
Shield.
and the idea is they'll take it back, and Brightheart and Grumpy being like the secondary mechanic, will hopefully find a way to like neutralize the radiation in the long term. So they do that, and
yeah, it's a plot point too that they trust Defender Bear to put a magical shield around it that no one else can break other than himself.
there's
Although none of them cast magic, so how do they know?
actually it's established. Well, not that she was on the mission, but Graham is like, oh yeah, I've got a little magic. Like
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't think that you were the only bear to cast magic, right?
That was actually pretty cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's how she makes all the clothes.
Right.
So quickly.
Well, it's like it makes the clothes.
And puts the tummy symbol on them.
This was back when they were requisitioning all their gear.
Right.
But like they touched the clothes, and the clothes got infused with their personal tummy symbol.
Right.
And then that was Graham's magic.
Yeah. Now, there's this distinction drawn between magic and things that they do with their tummy symbol, which is absolutely not called magic in this fanfic.
No, I think it's clerical spells because it draws from the divine source, which is the giant star.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do Care Bear cousins draw from any different source, or is it just a different...
They don't stare, they call.
They call, yes.
Yeah,
Now, as we know, fewer things are weak against sonic damage, but also very little resist sonic damage compared to divine.
But I think I believe they have the same source though.
It's probably druids and clerics.
Yeah, yeah. All divine source.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Man, should we just make a D&D module about the camera?
I am now tempted to do that, yes.
This fanfic is very conducive to that.
Defender Bear, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, not originally, in the past at some point, I did think about making an Amber Diceless hack for Care Bears. Now, in that case, having the tummy symbol would be like having walked the pattern in Amber Diceless, where it's like,
Oh my God.
It's like you're really assumed to have that, and that's like the basis for a lot of like your powers.
Yeah.
But you could save a lot of points if you don't take it and put those into something else.
Because like the cousins didn't have it until they were discovered by the Care Bears proper in the
That's
first
right.
movie.
And in
saying
Amber
that-
Diceless term, they had to go into negative, like the
There's-
experience equivalent when
Yeah.
they got that
I'm sorry, you're
to
saying
pay
there's
it off later.
a tabletop for
Amber? Did you
yeah.
not know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh, it's one of the first famous Diceless role-playing games.
Wow, that changed my life just now. I'd like to walk the pattern in an RPG, though I'd be terrified.
Better to start with it
Yeah.
when you make your character.
Yeah, I tried to save points by not starting with it, and it really screwed me over in the game.
We played an Amber Diceless one-shot back in high school.
Your older
God.
sibling and I fought a lot now.
Likewise, I would probably take the tummy symbol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be smarter.
That's
like,
fair.
it's just going to cause problems if you're trying to get around without one. I think they use it to like call the cars too, don't they?
Yeah, they create the cloud cards from
Yeah,
the tummy symbols.
most of their magic, like all of their magic comes from that. And it's interesting too because like the thing about Phoenix is like they recognize that he was always supposed to be a Care Bear, basically.
Well, that's why he looks like that.
Yeah, they thought he was dead.
We didn't-
But they hesitate around giving him the tummy symbol too.
We didn't mention, but like they briefly mentioned at the end of chapter 1, beginning of chapter 2, about Phoenix's actual origins.
Yeah, it's kind of weird
It's
because
very brief.
True
but
Heart and Noble Heart are like, oh, we did hear when we were pursuing No Heart at one point, we saw it had him
We
be
dropped a
like,
baby,
Yeah,
and we thought
it was
Darkheart.
dead.
We thought
Yeah.
Darkheart killed it, and that was it.
something like that.
And they say that in one paragraph in chapter 1, one paragraph in chapter 2.
And the truth is that actually Phoenix was dead, and it was the Phoenix that resurrected him.
Brought him back to life.
Brought him back
That's
to life.
right.
Yes.
Well,
So they thought they'd killed the kid, and they were just going
They were just
on.
like, that's a good kid.
look, they only killed the one, okay?
I know.
That's
they
pretty
found
good considering how many babies they had.
They had a
actually
lot,
thought
actually, yeah.
that Perfect and Polite Panda were dead as well until they found them in Paradise.
Yeah.
Valley, Paradise something. Anyway.
Paradise Lost?
Yeah, that one.
Yes, in hell.
In Milton's Paradise Lost. Yeah, right. Okay.
I feel like
In Dante's Inferno.
if you dropped a bunch of Care Bears into Dante's Inferno, they would wreck shit. Like, tummy symbols have got to go pretty far in that context.
What is this podcast?
Like, can you just imagine, like, bringing back caring to the people in limbo and, like, oh, suddenly, like, everyone's ascending to heaven or something.
Purgatory.
Purgatory, not limbo. You're right. Actually, they're not there because they don't care. They're not care because they're not.
I thought we were talking about Milton, not
Yeah,
Dante.
never mind.
Let's just move on.
Oh, Dante, we're talking about Milton.
Milton had Paradise Lost, and he also had a trilogy. But Dante had the Divine Comedy, Inferno, Purgatorio, and I don't remember.
Even though I was thinking of Dante, actually probably Care Bears in Hell would not do so well. Whereas Care Bears in Paradise Lost, actually, you could probably turn that whole situation around with a little bit of caring.
But Paradise Lost also was a trilogy because it was like Paradise Lost, Paradise Found, Paradise Regained. I don't remember exactly what they're called. I'm sorry, I'm a bad English major at this point. It's been a long time.
Why'd you major in bad English?
That's what I should have done. For real.
After the mission, they go back. Defender Bear has a little bit more training. Here's the thing. They're training in the gymnasium. Like, this is not the worst Marty Stew or whatever you want to call it type fanfic I've ever read, but Defender Bear picks up a sword and feels like when he's swinging around a staff or a sword, it just feels natural. Like I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
Two things. Let's not call it a Marty Stew because this is literally like tons of pieces of media. Like every media geared toward adolescent boys creates this. And fanfiction was picked on for having these stereotypical characters, even though they were in every piece of media that was feeding into the fanfiction that was being created.
Right.
So no wonder that happened.
I don't mean to be mean to fanfic. I don't usually use those sort of fanfic derogatory terms.
I mean, what else would you call it? Like main character syndrome or something?
New character syndrome, maybe?
I don't think you need to call it anything.
It's definitely a thing, though. It needs a category.
Okay, that might be fair. You might be right.
It's a kind of trope where it's just that when you're creating a new character and you want to make them cool,
make them the best.
Giving them something that's cool and unique is natural. But then there's a tendency to go, like among amateur authors, like the type we're reading, to go a little bit too far in giving them something unique that's cool.
Min-max.
And so
but it's not unique. I think that's the main
there are
point.
no other Care Bears that use a sword.
No, but that's my point, is like, yes, okay, it's unique amongst Care Bears, but using a sword is not unique. It's
but that's
the
not
least
what I mean.
unique.
No, it's unique in the context of the story that they exist.
Yes.
Right. So like a Care Bear that can use magic, that's plenty.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a Care Bear who can use magic and weaponry. Like, I'm not even sure why they have a sword in the gymnasium. I guess they're fencing for fun.
Well, the gymnasium was something that Phoenix magically created out of a broom closet.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Created a gymnasium to practice with a sword out of a broom closet. However, Phoenix's sword skills, as I recall, never become relevant again.
They don't.
This is just a scene. It's a vignette. It's like,
but that's part of the
this
thing.
Character trains with a sword. And the fact that's not relevant is like, what the heck, man? Like, it reminds me of this kid that I used to train in martial arts who was like 16 or 17. And he used to carry, like, we had a sword class. We had a Kenjutsu class. He used to carry his sword, his practice sword, around on his back all the time. And I swear to God, one time I saw him ninja run like an anime character through the mall.
There's always that kid,
like with the arms behind you. I was like, what are you doing, man? Like, I'm not trying to be too harsh, but there's a certain point where I have a hard time with this because I don't want to be an asshole to these kids who are trying to figure themselves out. And anime is this mediating force. But also, there's this strange thing where kids latch on to these identities. And they represent, I think, this sort of like hyper-masculinity to them. And this weird sort of identity. And it's sort of appropriative. And it's sort of racist. And it's sort of just bizarre. And I'm like, y'all need to calm down. That's kind of how I feel about it. Just calm down. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how I feel about this character in that moment. Is it's like, I trained with a sword. I'm so cool. Like, just calm down.
It's like, I wouldn't mind if the fact that the character wants to train with a sword is fine, but it's like the fact that he's awesome at it is kind of irksome. Like, if he trained with it and it was like bad at it, that would be a fun character moment.
He's already a natural at magic, and there were other ways you could have done that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's the same thing we're talking about with the Mary C and Marty C thing. Is it's frustrating when a character is
always good at everything.
Always good at everything. and especially these very specific things, and it's not interesting.
Dom, I see what do you mean how that could be a good character moment, in that he's coming from outside the Care Bear culture.
Yeah.
And so being able to ask some questions like, well, how would you train with staves or whatever?
Yeah.
And they're just like, why? And he's like, well, wouldn't it be useful to just have like a backup?
Yeah, why wouldn't you when in a physical combat? Like, whoa, slow down.
Right. And just to have that outside culture perspective. And
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's not quite how it comes across.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm saying is I want to edit this piece and remake it.
Yeah. But I think that's a promising thing to say. Like the fact that you want to edit it and make it into something. It means there's something here. Like I feel like there is something here, even though a lot of it reads really cliche and really like that sort of thing where you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Now in the back half of chapter 2, immediately having contained this evil magic stone, like that very night, I think, No Heart, who is miffed at Phoenix having gotten in his way before, kind of possesses him at night. In the process, Phoenix gets a bad dream of seeing the Care Bears and cousins as like monochrome and pursuing him. And
Did they mention as why No Heart was able to do this and why they didn't do it before?
It seems like No Heart could just do this at any time. Maybe it has to do with being stronger now for unexplained reasons.
I think also that No Heart has identified Phoenix Audubon as a threat and identified him and pursued him actively.
Well, also he's possessing Phoenix right now to get him to remove the barrier on the stone to steal the stone.
I just heard you say Phoenix Wright.
Yes. No Heart is possessing Phoenix Wright so that murderers will get away with murder.
Objection.
No Heart possesses Phoenix Audubon here to get him to remove the barrier on that stone so that he can steal it for his own purposes. I was saying he has that nightmare in the process of being possessed about being pursued by the Care Bears and cousins who are all like monochrome, black and white, and it's kind of effective in terms of expressing his anxiety over being rejected by his new family. But, he doesn't know when he woke up that he's been possessed. They just find out that the stone's missing and everyone's like, what happened?
Right.
We thought that it was safe in your magic spell. And he's like, I thought it was safe in my magic spell.
He just wakes up, hey guys. All the guys are like, hey guy. What's
Share
up
Bear.
with you? Nothing? What's up with you?
Again, it's Share Bear who's like, yo dude.
I was afraid this would happen.
Yeah, like, not necessarily accusing Phoenix of stealing it, but accusing him of
being incompetent.
Yeah, like saying like his spell would work. And this is totally fair because they welcomed someone in their family they didn't really know very well, and they just trusted the fact that his spell would work even though he's new at magic.
Yep.
So I actually think this is totally fair for Share Bear to be like, y'all just trusted that his magic would work.
Yeah, but I can't get past why Share Bear.
I know,
Why Share Bear specifically?
Yeah, can we just swap Share Bear and Grumpy for this fanfic?
I guess. I guess the author didn't want to pick on Grumpy too much.
Right, I understand not wanting to pick on Grumpy, but it just feels really arbitrary.
It does.
For like Share Bear to be all
Share
like,
Bear, this seems
we
like
blindly put our faith in it and now we all paid the price for such naivete.
I mean, it's Share Bear. Like, he's supposed to share. Like, he's supposed to be... Anyway.
Yeah, well. Anyway, they don't get to... Braveheart kind of breaks that up. It's like, okay, squabbling's not going to get us anywhere. We need to... And then the carrying meter's going off. Something bad's happening. It's happening in Paradise Valley. Paradise Valley is where the one-shot episode characters, Perfect and Polite Panda, hang out. They are Care Bear family members who don't live with the Care Bears because they're cultural outsiders, I guess, and it's a little awkward. And because
there's
the
reason that the fanfic explains, which is actually a really nice explanation for anyone who wasn't like super familiar with all the Care Bears lore, which is me because I haven't watched it since I was like a small child.
They need to be there to maintain the good weather in this little area of the Himalayas, and so the humans around there rely on them.
They initially left to join the Care Bear village, but when the weather started getting bad, all the crops started dying, and all the people were suffering because Perfect and Polite created the tropical climate in the Himalayas, they returned to keep those people safe, which I love that the fanfiction reiterates for us.
Because I have not seen that episode.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, I've seen it probably when I was 4 or 5, but I'm like almost 30 now, so that's, couldn't remember that.
Does that mean that good weather that is good for crops could be described as polite weather? perfect and polite
Or
weather.
perfect, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Polite's an interesting Care Bear type adjective.
Well, it's alliterative, so
That's true.
That's why they chose that.
Perfect and
Poise?
poised.
Perfect and
Presumptuous.
pulp.
Pretty.
Perfect and pulp panda.
There we go.
Pretty nice panda.
Now, Pulp Panda should be the Care Bear family member who uses weaponry.
Right? Like, Phoenix Audubon should have been Pulp Panda, just saying.
I would read Pulp Panda. Care Bears fanfic, yes. A bunch of Care Bears go down to investigate because, they know something bad's happening down there, and they can't find what's going on. They all return to Carolot, and then a huge rainstorm is coming, and it's a evil thunderclap rainstorm, and it is No Heart. No Heart, by the way, we haven't mentioned, he's just an evil wizard. You can't see his face.
Evil shape-changing wizard, which is not like Darkheart, which is an evil shape-changing cloud.
Well,
Darkheart is an evil shape-changing the devil, whereas No Heart is an evil shape-changing, I don't know.
Just a wizard with a bumbling companion, Beastly.
I was a little sad that we got no Shrieky in this fanfic.
Yeah.
Shrieky is his niece because No Heart, like Donald Duck or Mickey Mouse, has contracted that disease where you get a niece or a nephew with no other relations.
With no siblings.
Yeah. And you just don't know how.
But they hang out all the time and you're supposed to take care of them now.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I might have contracted that disease.
Yeah, I feel that way too.
So he kind of comes in and he captures a whole bunch of Care Bears and retreats, and he's just too strong now. Yep.
Did they mention why?
No.
You sound sad.
Now, no, they do. He's using a spell called the Cloud of Uncaring, and that's something that he did do in another episode. This is another episode that the fanfic is drawing from correctly. But this is stronger now because he is using that stone that he stole that Professor Coldheart had developed in a different TV series.
Right.
That could be the same continuity if you squint. Even though it doesn't interact with the movie 2 background or characters or any of that, so whatever.
Well, they mentioned Darkheart killed Phoenix Audubon earlier.
Right.
Yeah.
Darkheart killed Phoenix Audubon? Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That is what happened, yes. So that's why. It's a Cloud of Uncaring. He overwhelms the Care Bears with it. Care Bear stairs are no longer doing it. Clearly they should have a sword or something.
Nobody uses swords. What are you talking about, Amato?
Right. Now, he does not take all of the Care Bears, just, I believe, some of them. So there's a few people back to pick up the pieces in Carolot. Cheer Bear, Defender Bear. They kind of reconvene. 19 casualties, they say, counting Perfect and Polite Panda. Casualties meaning they were captured by No Heart.
Right.
Yes, and their feelings were moved, and they were created. Do we want to say this at this point?
They don't quite know what's happened. Well, I guess they know what the Cloud of Feeling does. Yeah,
They do.
They know that it removes your feelings, like friggin' everything does in Care Bears.
Yeah.
And one of the things that can crash Carolot is none of the Care Bears being caring anymore. And I think that is a continuity point as well. In addition to one small kid bullying another small kid, like, this is also an issue. So if they all get captured and Cloud of Feelings, Cloud of Uncaring or whatever, then Carolot's going to fall apart. And then they act like there's no coming back from that. I kind of figured the Great Wishing Star could probably make another Carolot if he really needed one.
Well, we're about to find out.
Yeah, exactly. Noble Heart has to give a pep talk where he's like, well, we're going in to save them. Like, it doesn't seem like good odds, but never tell me the odds. At 10 o'clock, we move out. That is, of course, 10 o'clock military time. I assume.
Yeah, one assumes in this fanfiction.
1000?
Yeah. And Defender gets a few moments with a few other characters, including the girl who we talked to earlier on back down on Earth. And she's just like, she gets to be an adorable Moppet, to be a symbol of what we are fighting for, basically.
Right.
Is this also when he has a conversation with Wishbear again? Yes. Wishbear, as they're like heading up to Gear In, heading up to gearing up to head in to the castle and such. He talks to Wishbear, and she explains that she was hit by the cloud of uncaring the first time, and knows what it feels like to have the feelings washed away.
So she has some trauma.
Yeah. Some Care Bear trauma.
And that's an interesting point with Phoenix and Wishbear, is that they have an emotional moment, but Wishbear also talks about her trauma, which is why she has such difficulty facing this menace.
Yeah. But she got hit with it because she was saving another little kid from being hit with it.
Yeah.
And so that also is a point of admiration for Defender Bear. He's like, oh, wow, that was very selfless, and I'll try to protect you this time. I promise I will save you from danger.
Yeah, and then you get this kind of funny impression because, it seems Defender Bear is so innocent in this, and Wishbear has been through so much. And this is a point, I want to give props to the author. I don't know if the author acknowledged this necessarily, if this is what they were going for, but it gives this sort of certain sense of, Defender Bear being very naive, having never faced this menace, and when Wishbear says, I have this trauma, and it's severe and significant, and that's why this is so hard for me, Defender Bear is kind of, bumbling. It doesn't know exactly what to do about it, and that's an interesting point.
You can see what the author's doing with it, and or going for.
Yeah. I don't know if the author was intending to imply that Wishbear... they definitely acknowledge that Wishbear has trauma, and I think that was a really important point in the fanfiction for me, to see that the author had that emotional sensitivity.
Mm-hmm. Now, they invade the castle. They're almost immediately just overwhelmed by No Heart. Wishbear and Defender Bear are separated, and he sicks the cloud on them while he is... I don't know, he's got something else to do. He's like, I think I will allow my dear Cloud the pleasure of dispatching you two, Mr. Bond. And the clouds of uncaring descend on them. They're getting all backed up. He manages to get them to escape briefly. They kind of dive down through a lower window when they're up on a ledge, and they find where all the other Care Bears are being kept, and they're all just frozen in time and gray.
Is this still chapter 2?
This is 3 now. We're coming on towards the end.
All right.
And this is Wishbear, or not Wishbear. This is Phoenix's new trauma now, because he's seeing all his recently developed family lifeless and heartless and emotionless and frozen in their states of terror.
Yep.
And that's pretty intense, the way it's described.
Their faces paralyzed with expressions of agony, anxiety, and anguish.
Yeah, that's a lot.
But then No Heart just kind of comes and confronts them again there. And Defender's like, I will stop you. And No Heart is like, yeah, you cannot do that. Even with all the magical power residing within you. I don't remember how No Heart talks. Anyway, even with all that power, you couldn't master it enough to stop me, No Heart mocked the White Bear. You have been nothing but an annoying little thorn in my plans. I will enjoy removing you from them. And he gets to resist the spell a little bit. But eventually, he falls too. That's all of them. Mm-hmm. Back at Carolot, the carrying meter drops to 0, and the whole thing is kind of starting to wither and shatter and crack. Actually, I think it just gets destroyed the whole way. But the power of love saves the day. Defender Bear retains enough consciousness to see Wish Bear, and he's like, something about her seems familiar. Oh, right, she's Wish Bear, shooting stars remind him. And he wants to do something for her, and he gets to kind of just revive himself. I guess he's got Phoenix magic, so that seems like a sort of thing that you can do, right?
Yeah, at first, at that point, I was like, oh, well, that's kind of, and then I remembered the Phoenix magic, and I thought, yeah, reviving from this kind of near death of emotionlessness is very Phoenix magic-y, right?
And he's got flames igniting all over his body when this is happening.
Yes, when this is happening. So it actually made sense. Yeah. This character, you see him as this cliche trope of, the outsider who comes in, and he struggles, and then he assimilates, and then he has to save the whole family. And that can feel a little forced, but in the magic of the Phoenix, it feels less forced. So I do give props to the author for creating that setup for having the Phoenix magic to revive himself from the lack of carrying through the fire of the Phoenix, I suppose. That made sense in that certain way.
And in an impressive, blast of magic that is visible from Earth, he manages to destroy the cloud and drive away No Heart and all that.
Actually, another interesting point in this was that he cried over Wishbear, but did not revive her through his crying. It was through this sense of like, oh, this burst of magic might be what does it.
Well, like he needs to save the whole family.
Yes.
But, speaking of standard tropes, we're going over to Sailor Moon now. Him having used the silver crystal, he dies.
Yes.
For a hot second.
He does die. Yeah. But I liked that him crying over Wishbear didn't necessarily revive everyone. It was that he had to sacrifice himself. And that was still tropey, but it was like he did make the attempt to cry over Wishbear, and it just didn't work.
Wait, but are you remembering what happens immediately after this?
Well, yeah.
Wishbear cries over him.
It does.
And that revives him.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm setting up for. Is that for him, crying over Wishbear didn't work. Mm-hmm. It didn't work. He had to sacrifice himself. But yes, we will continue with the plot if you want to keep going.
I mean, that's most of the plot. And if any...
Wishbear cries over him, and that works because she's Wishbear.
Yeah, if anyone's going to cry over somebody and revive them, like Pikachu in the first Pokemon movie, it's going to be Wishbear.
But she's Wishbear because she made a wish. Like, she explicitly actually makes a wish before she cries. Mm-hmm. And it's super tropey, and it's super pulpy. But I liked that the author had him make he didn't consciously make an attempt to cry over her and reawaken her, but he did do it, and it didn't work. And, like, he acknowledges it in the moment. He's like, I'm crying and it's not working, sort of thing. Like, not that he thinks it's going to, but...
I am actually forgetting this order of things. He uses the magic. Mm-hmm. Wishbear isn't coming back. And he uses his magic and sacrifices his life to revive her.
Yes.
And then she uses her magic to revive him.
Yes.
And so, absolutely, we need to do a Care Bears D&D interpretation where, like someone dies, but you can cast Raise Dead, it's okay. Like, let's see if they lose a point of con.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing, is like, he does cry over her and it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. I just thought that was such an important point, is that, like, his magic was the magic of the Phoenix, and her magic was the magic... of wishes.
Yeah.
So it actually made sense. In a bizarre, very tropey way, but it made sense.
Mm-hmm. And then, to cap off all of the tropes, everyone has to join their powers and feelings together in order to revive Care-a-Lot and the Forest of Feelings. Mm-hmm. Now, my recollection from the first movie is that Forest of Feelings, Care-a-Lot, and Earth are all the same, possibly all as one. That's a lyric from one of the songs. I don't know. It's stuck in my head from my childhood. But whatever.
Well, it's not all the cloud stuff is way above the Earth, because in the Care Bears 2 movie, they do a halo drop the first time.
Oh, do they?
Because they don't have the cars yet.
Mm.
Yeah.
And even Phoenix, having been just revived by Wishbear, manages to be conscious enough, long enough to say, yeah, me too. I'm up. I'll provide my tummy symbol to help revive.
We care.
Recare.
We care.
That is what they say, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then he wakes up and take Care Bear's clinic, and he and Wishbear get to confess their feelings to each other. Mm-hmm. And it's considered, and it's very much set up to be the first part in a series of stories, because he kind of gets to look at himself in the mirror and think, how did I know what to do earlier? Where did these ideas come from? And what else am I capable of? And then he would leave all of his questions and worries at home, for now was not a time for fear. It was a time to celebrate new friendships and new successes. He knew he'd have to face all of his concerns sooner or later, but right now, Phoenix Audubon, Defender Bear, would only let himself think about the good times of today. And that's how the fanfic ends.
Also, Phoenix and Wishbear softly kiss.
Oh, of course.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
And
that's the only weird part of this. And gratefully, they had a romance without sexualizing it, because they're literally plush bears. So.
Don't they literally have the little heart on their butt?
Right butt cheek or something?
Right. Yeah, maybe left.
Yeah, maybe left.
Right or left, it's one or the other.
That's where the Care Bears... That on the dolls, that's where it says Care Bears and it's a little franchise thing.
Yeah.
I was totally glossing over the romance there for our Valentine's Day episode here, because I don't particularly care.
Well, it's kind of a funny one. They set up a romance, but it just felt so bizarre. So.
It's just very straightforward.
It is. I'm just glad they could have gone places with it, and they didn't, and I'm grateful for that. Mm-hmm. That's all.
as a heterosexual guy, this is not quite how heterosexual romance goes normally.
Amato, the heterosexual guy. Thank you for informing us, Amato, the heterosexual
I mean,
guy.
media might make you think it's exactly this straightforward, but usually not.
I mean, on this podcast, it is a bit of a prestigious title.
Neither is a fight for, saving the world that's straightforward or any. And not that that's a thing that we have, necessarily a real context for. But what I'm saying is they're going with the tropes, and that's fine.
Yeah. And that's how the fanfic concludes. It concluded like it started. Very pulpy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Now, go on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, it's kind of like when we were talking about, I think the last time I commented on this was Sailor Trek. And just when the goals of the fanfic writer are very modest, you can feel good about it because they usually hit on them. It's not trying to be anything more than a pulpy new Care Bear story.
Yeah.
That absolutely leads exactly into what I was going to say, is when you were reminding me that I'd used the word pulpy before, and we've reiterated it because I brought it up before, it reminded me of what the word pulp is supposed to mean. It's essentially meaning paper pulp. The words are worth no more than the paper they're written on.
It's cheap paper.
Yeah, so it's supposed to be transitory entertainment.
But it reminded me of that, and it reminded me of it's worth a lot more because it's this high fiction, this literary critic interpretation of pulp is these words aren't worth anything. They're just paper pulp. They're just they're just spewed out. But oftentimes pulp is about the reader's enjoyment. It's a reiteration of the hero's journey. That's very enjoyable. And it's ironic that we'll see, Homer writing something worthwhile, but we'll see this as paper pulp, something disposable. But this is very much a reiteration of the hero's journey, and it's something that the reader derives enjoyment of, or with. I just felt like it was a good point to point out that we have a hero's journey arc taking place here, and I think it's very enjoyable for a lot of readers, just like Care Bears is. It's simple and it's straightforward, but it's fun to watch and it's fun to read.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I suppose that's my praise for this.
Should we back up into our normal things about things that annoyed us about the fanfic and then things we want to praise about it?
I think I've kind of talked about what got on my case the most, just the different formatting, and it could have been, because it did have a lot of Care Bears tone, and I was okay with that because that was in step with the franchise. If they would have changed the order of some of the things or just changed the context of some of the things, it would have been a pretty interesting fan fiction Care Bears episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've already spoken my praise for it in the sense that it is that pulpy thing, but it's something you enjoy. And I agree that it fits the tone of Care Bears. So I would say that that's true.
Mm-hmm. I'd say I think Phoenix does go a little bit too far as a new character. Mm-hmm. And there's ways you could have dialed back the uniqueness a little bit. Even magic as a unique point feels... I struggle to accept it for a character because in a story like this, magic is just whatever you want it to be. Yeah. Whatever you, the author, want it to be.
Yeah.
And that means that he can take center stage in any given conflict if the author wants him to.
Also, it kind of established that he's a third character with magic in the story.
After No Heart and Grams.
Graham Bear, yeah.
Yeah, well, in terms of criticism, my main criticism is also the main character. Just the flavor of the character is... It's not that it's boring or redundant. I think that would be fine. Mm-hmm. It's that the character had to have a false humility. Mm-hmm. This whole oh, I don't understand where I fit in, and then I'm going to do something incredibly great at totally spontaneously because I'm so good in secret. It read like that kind of, white male self-insertion that is so irritating.
I probably would have named the bear something different than Defender.
Yeah.
How about Unique Bear?
Unique Bear would have been better. Like,
I
thought that at the time.
I don't know about that.
Defender Bear. Like, I'm the defender of all these people, even though I've just met them.
Maybe, like...
I hardly know them. Like, it's almost like there's no room for him to make mistakes. His mistake, he doesn't have a mistake. It's that he falls asleep and sleepwalks while he's being manipulated. It's not even a mistake. It's like he's falsely accused most of the time rather than having any errors.
You could have gotten the feeling across with a different, more sympathetic name.
Yeah.
Maybe like Family Bear?
The name would have been better.
That would be a cute name for him.
It would
right?
be cute.
Yeah.
I also felt like he had sympathetic character points, like such as being shy, but as soon as he gets in with the family, his shyness goes away. And the
he
other
doesn't
bears
have
point this out.
anxiety
They're like,
anymore, right?
No, they're like, your shyness went away, right? And he starts acting cocky and he starts acting weird and he becomes so much less relatable. And even before that, his relatability is his shyness, and that's only demonstrated a couple points in time. Like, otherwise, in his mind, he's cocky. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't like that. I found him unlikable.
And going back to, like, what I was saying about magic as a plot device that the author uses, like, it's only a problem when it's to the detriment of other characters, and it often is in this fanfic, where it's just like, oh, no heart is too strong for these characters to deal with, so, Defender Bear has to do it. Mm-hmm. And, we don't have time to come up with another plan for this stone, so Defender Bear needs to do it.
Yeah,
and, like, we're all going to lose to no heart in our castle, so Defender Bear needs to do it. Like, and it's just how the plot is structured with this character and with this character's abilities.
It's like they say that they don't trust him, and they say that he's not ready, and they say all these things, but yet the reality of the plot is that they rely on him all the time. And that feels weird.
And now let's end on a positive note and go back over what we think are the best points of the fanfic. Mm-hmm. Tori, you just kind of had your whole discourse, and I think that's all, good stuff to discuss. For me, I feel like you can feel the good vibes from authors that are having fun with what they're writing, and I feel it here. And they're having fun. It's really charming that it's like an Air Force guy who's like going back to a franchise because they were reminded of it at the anniversary, and it's like, I want to play around in that sandbox.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing that's not earnest about the fanfic. The pitfalls that happen here happen to all kinds of fanfic authors who are writing their first stories, Yeah.
Again, it's pulp. Like, it plays into that, right?
Yeah. And so it's very appropriate to Care Bears that, like, I kind of got fuzzy feelings reading it and being like, it's fandom love being expressed towards this very, very fuzzy franchise.
It was kind of sweet to imagine, like, an Air Force dude in his, like, mid or late 20s writing about Care Bears. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of sweet.
I forgot.
Sorry.
Take a moment.
I feel like there's a lot of good bones of a story in this. There was a lot of decent ideas for bringing an outsider into this space they want to play around in, and I saw a good deal of potential in this, I think.
Yeah, I think you were right pointing it out that, like, our urges to edit it are a good sign in a sense.
There's a good idea.
I totally agree with that.
All right. So thank you to the author, Phoenix Autobot. Transform and roll out.
Well, I think my actual criticism was there's no mention of the certified Nina Mason Pulliam Rio Salado Autobahn Center in Phoenix, Arizona.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's my main criticism.
He does mention the guy who it's named after, though. Because that's the connection, is like, I have a unique relationship with birds.
Oh, right.
Because I was raised by one.
Autobahn.
He doesn't have a conversation with, what's the penguin's name? Playful Heart Penguin? I don't know.
Well, it's a cousin, so it's
something heart
animal. Something heart animal, yeah.
Yeah, and you were noting that the penguin's the only non-mammal.
Only non-mammal, yeah.
Yeah, he has that line about having a special relationship with birds. He should have chatted with the penguin.
It should have been main character. Well, we'll get it in the second rewrite, yeah.
There you go. Anyway, I was going to thank Phoenix Audubon for writing a bunch of fan fiction, putting it on the internet, and then being gracious about us talking about it at length.
Yeah, that's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And we had fun talking about it.
Yeah, I hope we weren't too mean.
I don't think we were too mean.
I mean, I think we were nice, but you never know.
I think we were just mean enough.
Just mean enough to get that second rewrite where he becomes best friends with Cozy Heart Penguin.
Cozy Heart Penguin, yes.
Oh, yes.
Let's just switch the romance over to Cozy Heart Penguin. I don't know their gender. Right? I don't care.
It would make more sense for them to be associated with a bird.
I just want to say that's my main impression. My only criticism is the gendering of Care Bears here.
Canonically, they do, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes they switch between series. Like Secret Bear used to be gendered as male and now is gendered as female, or vice versa. I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It's a secret.
What gender is secret? It's a secret. Shh. Still not a joke, dude.
Just like me.
It's a secret.
Now that we are safely away from Valentine's Day, our next fanfic will be shipping. And I know we have been not having nearly enough gay on this show for some people's tastes. So we'll get a little bit more of it. Just a little.
Everything's gay to me.
Because it's a short fanfic. We are going to be looking at They Say of the Elves, a Lord of the Rings fanfiction by Brancher. You can find our link to it at bit.ly/rfrelves.
That's what it's called? They Say of the Elves?
They Say of the Elves.
It sounds kind of like it should be said, they say of the elves.
That's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Oh.
Yeah.
They say of the elves that they're gay.
We'll just have to talk like this the whole time.
Like. Yeah.
Oh,
I believe they may say of the elves that they are sexually promiscuous, yes.
Oh.
I've heard tell of the elves.
Certainly more so than of the bears, yes.
I feel like I've heard more tell of the bears than I ever wanted to hear in this particular instance. But...
What kind of bears do we... Okay.
Never mind. Moving on.
Good point. Does Gimli count as a bear? Let's just get that out there before we read this.
Gimli is a total bear.
Isn't he too short? Would it be a bear cub or something?
No. Bear cubs are like less hairy and more slender, but it doesn't matter your height if you're a bear.
Okay.
This is my opinion. Although I'm only 5'4", so I can't speak very well to this whole situation because everyone's taller than me.
As for this episode, this was episode 24 of Retro Fanfic Retrospective, Rise and Fall by Phoenix Audubon. You can find it on fanfiction.net. Our link there is bit.ly/rfrrise, which means we now have a bit.ly link for RFR Rise and for RFR Fall.
Nowhere near related, though.
No. That one was Fall of the Republic.
If you read them together, it would be very interesting.
No, it wouldn't. It would be completely unconnected.
I can sense a connection through the Force.
I think it's through that last drink.
Both are applicable.
The intro song is The Weekly Fair off of the album Popey's Incredible Adventure by Komiku. The outro song is Run Against the Universe from the same album. You can find this album and other works by Komiku at loyaltyfreakmusic.com. You can find our website at retrofanficretrospective.podbean.com or bit.ly/retrofanfic. If you have questions, comments, or thoughts about the episode, contact us on Twitter at retrofanfic or send us an email at retrofanficretrospective@gmail.com. I have now said Retrofanfic Retrospective enough times. I hope. Leaving comments or reviews on Apple Podcasts in particular would also be greatly appreciated. I'm Amato.
I'm Tori.
I'm Dom. I hope you all had a great Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that means.
I'm sure everybody was out watching the new Battle Angel Alita movie.
Buy a greeting card for your significant other. That's what you're supposed to do, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That's the theme. Okay.
Buy a greeting card with a Care Bear on
it. Greeting card, Care Bear. And we come full circle.
I was just pausing about whether it's more distressing for me to look at the Alita from the Battle Angel Alita movie or to look at Noble Heart Horse.
It's gotta be Noble Heart Horse.
Yeah.
But then again, the Battle Angel Alita movie is...
Those eyes are so big.
Why?
It is so big.
Why?
Well, they're trying to make it look distressingly anime transposed onto real life.
But
You can't do that in real life.
Like, Battle Angel Alita is such a serious thing, and they're just making it... I don't know.
Anyway, we are just three, sadly, earthbound life forms trying to be nice to each other. Until next time, take care.
We love you.
Take care, Bear.
We care. We care. We care.
We care. We care.
We care.
We care.
You're sounding like a cult now.
We care.
We care.
Thanks, folks, for our first and last Care Bears fanfic episode.
You don't know.
I can barely find any other Care Bears fanfic.
Barely.
I gotta say...